Welcome back to All for United. It's another press conference reaction show. Thank you for joining us. Ten Hag has already spoken to the press. MUTV decided to change their transmission time, so it means that we can nicely react to some of the stuff that was said. And actually, first impressions, Stu, when we jumped on this stream, you've seen the press conference and straight away went, "Oh, it didn't really say a lot." So talk us through what are you making of Ten Hag and, so to speak, his demeanour in press conferences at the moment?
I quite like his demeanour anyway, because that's my demeanour. I'm a bit sharp, on occasions. Try and speak with as few words as I can when I put my mind to it. But look, he doesn't want to get involved in all the rigmarole that comes with Premier League football, because his job, his role at Manchester United at the minute is just toxic. He's just following a host of managers since Sir Alex that just cannot seem to get the feet under the table and get any kind of fluidity, even from day one. So I just think he's constantly banging his head against a brick wall. I don't think he can be bothered with press conferences. They tend to be a bit, it's just a problem for him at the minute. He just needs to concentrate on getting the mindset of the current players out of where they were or where they've been for the last 3 years and back to being professional footballers, which we're currently not seeing. So I don't mind his demeanour. The press don't like it, clearly. They keep pressing on. Crikey, if I hear Frankie de Jong's name again, seriously, I'm going to lynch someone. Fed up. Absolutely fed up with listening to it. It's just, that's the type of questions he's getting, and he just knows. He sits down and he's thinking, I could answer this question even before it comes. So I just think he just wants to get tomorrow night out of the way. I think he wants a win, and I think once he gets that win under his belt, you'll see a different type of Ten Hag. But right now, he just wants to get rid of it.
Yeah, Marcus, we were sort of saying as well beforehand about the difference in contrast between, so to speak, Ten Hag and Ralph Rangnick, and we was having a bit of discussion about, well, did we prefer someone who was quite outspoken or sort of tend to put their cards, maybe, whether you believe it or not, on the table a bit more with the press, or someone who's a little bit more of a closed book and, is trying to control things, as you can see, not just behind the scenes, but also in the press. So how are you finding the early days of, so to speak, Ten Hag versus the British media?
Yeah, I think his diplomacy is quite wise. He's clearly a guy who enjoys keeping his cards close to his chest, and I don't really have too much of a problem with that. I think we as fans, and I include myself, but not everybody on this panel, because maybe you disagree, but a lot of fans would celebrate a manager who comes out and says things as it is, so to speak, because they become a cult hero. But let's be real, Erik ten Hag has a lot he needs to get done in a very short space of time with very little resources in that team at the moment. So it would be very unwise to come out and make each and every player that you need to start and need to perform well your public enemy. It doesn't make sense at all. So he's got to remain diplomatic, and I completely respect it. I've seen loads of people on Twitter already, it's starting, calling him a puppet and all this nonsense. I can't comprehend how people come to that conclusion this early on. Genuinely speaking, I think people have got to respect the man and give him a bit of time, man. Let's see how his demeanor changes as the season progresses, and more importantly, let's see which players he sort of selects and puts his trust in over the next few weeks, and which players he drops, which players he starts to move on out of the team. We haven't given him that opportunity. So, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, Anton? Obviously, you see obviously quite a lot of people you communicate with on your own channel, and also, I know you watch different YouTube videos, get involved in spaces as well. It really is that knife edge with United all the time, isn't it? Because there's certain fans who want him to be a certain way, and then there's other fans who want him to be another way. And then ultimately he has to sit in front of the press every week and give answers to questions on things that maybe A, he can talk about, or B, he can't. So what have you made of the early days of Ten Hag and the British media?
First, I just want to say I was a fan of Rangnick putting his cards on the table, but I'm also a fan of the way Erik ten Hag composes himself, almost like it's almost like he runs the press conferences. He made a journalist apologize the other day for repeatedly asking a question about Cristiano Ronaldo. In a way, he reminds me of the way Sir Alex used to compose himself. He didn't want the press to know too much about what was going on, I guess, behind the scenes. And obviously, in recent years, we've had all the reports of stuff being leaked by the club. Obviously, Rangnick came in, almost exposed everything that was going wrong, and obviously that didn't sit too well with the hierarchy at Manchester United. Whether or not Erik Ten Hag has been advised by the press team at United to not do what Rangnick did, or whether or not that's just his personality, I am a fan of him not giving journalists too much to write about, because obviously they're gonna nitpick at every single thing he says and try and catch him out, because that's what happens when you are the manager of this club. So I'm a fan of it. I do think it will stay the same whether or not he wins, loses, or draws. I just think that's how he is, and I like it a lot.
Yeah, I think a lot of Ajax fans, and Stu, you can vouch for this. When we spoke to Ajax about Ten Hag, apparently he's quite a weird character. I mean, I've not seen a weird character within him yet. I've seen quite a quiet guy in some ways, and I think maybe the reason why he doesn't over elaborate himself in the English press or British interviews could just be because of maybe a slight language barrier. I don't know, but he seems to be quite fluent in English. He seems to communicate, get his message across well. Completely agree with every point made, and Anton, now I agree with you. It does feel like he is sort of controlling the press a little bit more on the puppet strings, and it does feel like, with Manchester United, if there's a lot of toxicity and negativity in the media, that does translate through on the pitch and in the fan base. So it sort of does feel like Ten Hag's trying to very slowly diffuse the flame a bit when it comes to the press versus Manchester United. I think that's very much a persona we've all been battling for quite a while. But let's start, shall we, with a bit of transfer news that sort of came online the other day, Stu, and Ten Hag was asked about Marcus Rashford and PSG. And to be honest, he was quite upfront and blunt about this, like he's been with the Ronaldo stuff the whole time. He said, Rashford's really important. You've seen that from me from the first day. I'm really happy with him and definitely don't want to lose him. Rashford is in our plans. He will stay at Manchester United. Now, before we talk about Ten Hag's words, first of all, from you, Stu, what was your reaction when that rumor came out, and what's your personal opinion on it?
Well, as a sports journalist, it's complete bollocks. It's lazy journalism, unfortunately. I've seen it all before in a wide variety of sports that I've covered. And this is just lazy journalism. There's no way on earth that PSG, when you've got the wealth of attacking talent that you've already got, and the way that they're structuring their squad over the next 4 to 5 years with Paris-born and raised players, the undercard that they've got within their squad, there's absolutely no chance you're going to be going with a striker that's probably scored no more than 5 or 6 goals over the last 2 years worthy of mentioning. He's just, I think Rashford needs to move. I think from a footballing and a sporting thought process, he needs to move. But it's just lazy journalism, I'm afraid. Somebody's picked something up somewhere, a little tiny snippet, and they've done it. I've said a million times on this channel that unless you're in the media, you've got to kind of understand how the media works. If you're not in the media, you just have an opinion. But so when you're in the media, you know exactly how it works. And the thing about the media is they always control the narrative. Whatever anyone thinks or says, they always control the narrative. And this is no different. PSG gained nothing from it. Gained absolutely nothing from this whatsoever. Rashford gained something because his agents, if they've pushed this story, or somebody alongside him has pushed this story, he gains by the sheer fact that PSG apparently are in for him. But I can tell you now, it's just pure lazy journalism. Somebody said something, somebody's picked it up and decided to run with the story.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, Marcus? Because Ten Hag has sort of painted a picture in his press conference today that Rashford is an important part of his plans. So, in your eyes, what are Ten Hag's plans for Rashford?
It's difficult to assess Ten Hag's plans because obviously the club have been massively underprepared going into this new season. I think what people need to realize is that if you genuinely believe that Erik Ten Hag is a fantastic coach, which I'm sure most of us do, then there will be players in the squad, whether you like it or not, who do improve, right? Not all of them, but there's going to be a handful of players who improve. And it's very possible that Marcus Rashford could benefit under the coaching of Erik Ten Hag. I mean, we've all openly admitted that coaching has been one of the issues over the last 3 years. So it would be silly to say that now that we do have a good coach, all of a sudden nobody's going to improve, because it's just like, so what was the point of moaning about the coaching then, right? So it's very possible that Marcus Rashford is in his plans. And when you sort of look at the club and why they would want to keep someone like Marcus Rashford, we all know his brand is massive. We all know that his marketability is up there with some of the players we've had in the past, like Paul Pogba, even someone like Cristiano Ronaldo. I think Marcus Rashford is genuinely one of the most marketable players after Ronaldo. So from the club's point of view, from, you know, how we are a commercial club and we're a brand, they're going to keep him. Whether we like it or not, they're going to keep him. And so Erik Ten Hag needs to be sort of accepting of that, I think, because I don't think there's anything he can really do. I don't see him, you know, changing the club's mind and making them believe that selling Rashford is the right thing to do. At least not now. Maybe in a couple of years, it's possible. So yeah, I think he does see Rashford as part of his plans. And actually, maybe there's other areas that he wants to address in that team before the left wing position anyways. You know, perhaps he's looking at that midfield and saying, okay, I can't move Rashford on, but at least there's other things I can fix in this team for now. And then we'll come back to this in a year's time. And to be fair to him, Marcus Rashford, you know, did score a couple of goals in preseason. You know, he wasn't amazing, but, you know, he did score. You know, it's not like he wasn't doing anything. So, yeah, I think Ten Hag is going to try to get the best out of Rashford.
Quite a few of you starting to watch. Get in the live chat, by the way, and give us your thoughts as we're talking through some of these Ten Hag talking points. He started off the press conference being asked about the Rashford to PSG links, and he shot them down. He said that Rashford is an important part of his plans and he will be staying with us. Hello to Hammer. Hello to John, who are already in the live chat. We'd like to see some more of you in the live chat. Hit a like on the video, then get in the live chat and discuss with us. Do you know what? With Rashford, for me, it's really interesting, Marcus, because he got absolutely slandered after the game against Brighton, but it's relatively normal for forward players, strikers, to get in goal-scoring positions on the first game of the season and miss a few. Like, it's relatively normal. You're not as sharp as maybe you normally are. And that happened a few times over the weekend. Núñez missed a couple for Liverpool. Haaland missed a couple. Like, it just happens. For me, that I saw against Brighton that I quite liked about Rashford was he was actually popping up in some quite nice positions that I've not seen him in ages. And for me, that already shows, given also some of his performances in pre-season, like you've hit on there, maybe he is learning. Maybe you're spot on there, Marcus. Maybe he is learning. Maybe the coaching is there. Go on.
Yeah, and also another thing is I love how people in this fan base target very specific players when we all agreed that the pretty much majority of the team was terrible. Now, I'm not saying that Sancho should get anywhere near the level of criticism that Rashford does, but we should at least be fair as a fan base, because Sancho didn't play well either. And you've got to apply context in that game specifically, like ignoring his form over the last 2 years. If we're talking about that game specifically, our forward players didn't get the ball that much. So any forward player on planet Earth would have struggled in that game, like Ronaldo did when he came on as well, because there wasn't a lot of service. You know, I think Jadon Sancho is the prime example of that. We all, you know, most of us agree that technically he's much better than Rashford, but they both played as bad. So I think people just have a genuine hatred towards Marcus Rashford, and his relationship with the fan base at the moment is very, very sour. And I really hope for everybody's sake, because I don't see us selling him, that he does turn it around, because that's the best possible scenario. And that's what people should want. But it almost feels like a lot of people are just over Marcus Rashford, which I understand, but the hatred is just is unacceptable for me.
Well, I was going to say, sorry, Ben, that's why he needs maybe from a sporting perspective to move on, because I tend to agree with you, Marcus. Having said that, if he starts attacking the diagonal like he did in glimpses against Brighton, that's where his strengths lie. His strengths lie getting around the player, attacking the diagonal, hitting the penalty box at absolute rapid pace, and giving the defender no chance to react, absolutely zero chance to react, because the defender is on his back heels all the time, and it's impossible to react when you're on that. That's where we were so successful with Martial, if you remember, and Rashford a couple of seasons ago when they both hit around the 20-goal mark. They were attacking with speed the diagonal of the box, and it was brilliant to see. I'd love to see Rashford get that energy back, that drive and that dynamism, because he's a problem for anyone. There's no doubt in his ability as a footballer. He just, for whatever reason, has forgotten that side of his game, or wants to develop another part of his game that he just isn't as good as.
Do you know what he's doing? He's forcing it. He's forcing it too much.
he's
He's done that a
forcing
few times when he went one-on-one with a player and he was like always trying to look for the nutmeg. And it's like,
Not anymore.
why? Skim him,
Straight
get
at
to
him.
the bar line, get cut inside. You don't need to nutmeg him. We don't need to create a new Marcus Rashford highlight reel. Like, do what you're best at. Pace, run at them. It seems that everyone nowadays, and especially footballers, feel like they have to do something special when they're on the ball. Do some step overs, do a nutmeg, do some sort of rainbow flick over a player's head. No, if you've got enough pace and you're up against a slow fullback or a slow three at the back as well, putting them on what Brighton were, skin them. Run past them, burn them, which is quite interesting. It's like he's trying too hard at times. But as I said, he got up in some promising positions. Anton, let me come to you. All this said and done, though, is it a really crucial season for Rashford this year? Does he have to impress Ten Hag? Otherwise, look, it's looking like he will get some sort of new contract this year, which may mean that he definitely won't be going anywhere next summer because then he'll be out of contract. But ultimately, he needs to push on this season, doesn't he? Under a new coach.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, he has, I think, 1 year left on his contract with the option for, well, if the club want to trigger the 1 year extension, they'll definitely do that because it is Marcus Rashford. I do think that if whatever these rumors are came out maybe in June, it might have been a bit of a different story. And I also do think that he wasn't in Erik Ten Hag's plans because if you look at the players Ten Hag wanted even before he came in, you looked at Anthony, Darwin Núñez as two attackers. With Sancho and Ronaldo there already, I don't think Marcus Rashford was in his original plans. Obviously, on pre-season as well, he did all right. I don't think he did the best, but compared to his, last 18 months, it looked like he was, moonwalking across the pitch, scoring bangers. It's just the level he should be playing at the very minimum. It's just that he was so bad previously. It looked amazing. I personally think he should move on as well. I agree with Stu. If we were to sell him now, you'd probably get 40 plus, maybe 50 million for him because of who he is, because of his age, because of the potential. If you wait another year and trigger the extension, you might have another stinker of a season. And then PSG aren't in for him. And then you go for the other clubs who wanted to pay 25 million. I think from a business point of view, which Manchester United seems to be so fond of, it would be a good idea to get rid of him now. From a footballing point of view, it wouldn't because we're not going to get anybody else in. So that for that reason alone, I think Rashford will be an integral part of Ten Hag's plans. And obviously Marcus is right as well. We do have a very good coach in Erik Ten Hag and obviously his backroom staff as well. Steve McLaren has proven himself to be a good assistant coach before, especially at Manchester United. And he's brought a couple of people over from Ajax as well. So I fully believe in what he wants to do. Obviously, if he had the players he wanted, Rashford wouldn't be playing and starting games. You'd have more attacking options. You'd have better quality. But I'm confident. I'm confident in Rashford. I've always been a big fan of him. And I agree with you as well, Ben. He just needs to simplify his game. I remember watching a game a couple of years ago. He tried to knuckleball the ball across the pitch. And it's just things like that when I just watch him and I think, what are you doing? I think social media lives in the head of players when they're playing football as well. They might think, I have to do something special because if I just score a tap in, it's not going to get as much applause as if I score a 35-yard screamer. And I think Marcus Rashford being so present on social media, so big and so influential as well, I think all of these things run through his mind. I think footballers need a clear mind. Look at someone like Christian Eriksen, not the biggest on social media. He's only been here a few weeks and he's already put in a few good performances. He just plays a simple pass, simple football, and it's effective. Donny van der Beek as well. Then you get Marcus Rashford. Someone like him just needs to eradicate all of that from his game and go back to what it was a couple of years ago. Because obviously that partnership he had with Martial got 23 goals. Marcus Rashford got 22 that season. Obviously it was under Ollie, different style of football, which I think suited Marcus Rashford better as well. I don't think that's been said quite enough, even on social media. I think then everyone was happy. They were playing a very simple style of football. It was just soak up the pressure and use your pace, which you have in abundance on the counter-attack. And that worked. Now we're under Ten Hag. We're going to be dominating the ball a lot more, or we'll try to be dominating the ball a lot more. Marcus Rashford is going to have the ball in positions on the wing where he's one-on-one against the defender, and then there's going to be somebody else behind the defender and also 5 other people in the box. And he's not someone to cross the ball, by the way. So he's going to have to adapt, and he's obviously going to have to improve. Listen, 1 year left on his contract. If he doesn't, the trigger's still going to get done on the contract. But we might have missed out on an opportunity to get a lot of money for someone who's not been the best over the past 18 months. Because remember, I think he's still only 24 or 25, so he does have a lot of room for improvement. I'm just saying, I think we should get rid of him now. And if we were serious about Ten Hag, and if the owners were serious about Ten Hag, genuinely wanted to get back to the top, they do it and get someone else in. They do it, use the money to fund Anthony, use it to fund somebody else very quickly, because obviously there's not long left in the window.
It reminds me of, do you remember that window where we had an offer or something come up for Martial, and it was it one of the Glazers' sons' favourite player was Martial, and Mourinho was like, yeah, we can let him go, but they didn't sell him in the end. And it sort of feels like a little bit like deja vu, maybe a little bit. But maybe Ten Hag does have plans for him. Maybe, you know, Ten Hag's also been a bit honest with himself in terms of what he can achieve in this window, even with or without Marcus Rashford, and it would be easier to keep him than run after Anthony.
Yeah.
But as we've spoken about before, it's for me, it's the centre forward position we need to strengthen, and we need to have a look at that left wing. He needs some sort of competition that's better than Elanga, because at the moment there's nothing out there for him, and competition means everything. Simon's commented here saying, I think Rashford needs a steady and stable manager, not the unstable management we have had. By the way, also, I'm always going to feel sympathy for Marcus Rashford. He came through the ranks as a striker. He played striker when he first came through, hit the ground running, and for some reason was then pushed out to left wing and told you need to learn a whole new game. Then pushed in again as a centre forward, didn't work out from there again, and then been told you need to play as a left winger again. It's absolutely mental. The world of inside forwards. Joseph says, I only wish Ten Hag could unleash the Rashford of 2016 as a striker. I sort of just said that, didn't I?
Yeah.
And there's loads in here. Hello to Reese. Hope you're good, mate. And actually, Reese has sort of hit on something here that we're going to chat about next in terms of what Ten Hag said. So it's interesting how Ten Hag was questioned about the backing. He said he felt it was how long until he toes the good employee line. Well, it was interesting what he said. He was asked about the strategy this transfer window and about whether the board and Ten Hag are working in unison at the moment, because I think it's safe to say it looks a little bit muddied to all of us at the moment with what's going on and where we're going with it. He said that they're cooperating well, Stu. They're cooperating well this window. And obviously he toed the line of, I cannot talk about other players in contracts within other clubs. So diffused that. What have you made of the strategy this summer, which seems to have been Ten Hag's targets or nothing, plus him coming out and saying as well that he wants the right type of players, and then we're linked with the likes of Arnautovic and Rabiot.
Yeah, great PR spin. Mr. Ten Hag, you will say this when you're asked that. Great PR spin. You know, again, it's just standard stuff. Look, I would imagine privately he's seething. I would imagine privately he's like every single one of us on this panel, absolutely amazed at the sheer stupidity of our board. And it's not changed for years since Sir Alex and David Gill moved. We haven't been steered in the right direction. We have a real inability to remove players outside of our squad, and we can't seem to buy players either. We really, really struggle. And nobody can say it's the negotiating club's fault, etc., because it's rubbish. Everyone else can go and buy. Nottingham Forest can go and buy 13 players. Okay, and they're still looking for players. Everton have boards. You know, it's just there's just something not right with our negotiations. We look like we're going to the negotiating table with a box of Quality Streets and we're asking them to pick their favourite chew or chocolate because it's pathetic. We've got no real plan. We don't seem to know what we're doing in the negotiation room. This Rabiot deal, right? Actually, let's be clear about Rabiot. He isn't the world's worst footballer on the planet, okay? And he is better than McTominay.
There's a player in there. There's a player in there.
There is a player in there. He's better than McTominay. He's better than Fred. He has got an issue surrounding him with his parents and everything else. They just left him alone to concentrate on playing football. He's all right. He's actually not as bad as people are making out. But is he right for Manchester United? I don't think he fits Ten Hag's system. If we really talk about it, I don't think he's a Ten Hag profile type player. But Scott McTominay isn't, so he would fit in better than that. The Arnautovic thing Well, I don't know quite what to say on that one, really. I don't think I've got any words that can talk about Arnautovic, because I don't kind of get it. When Ten Hag came in, when he was originally approached, he would have known what he wanted. He's that type of of man. He's that meticulous. Look, if I go to Old Trafford, he knew he's being interviewed. You get 2 weeks to set up for your interview. He's going to go in and say, I'm going to want X, Y, and Z. And I need X, Y, and Z because I want to do this, this, and this. Okay? It's not rocket science, football. It really isn't rocket science. And our board should have then gone and said, right, those what we'll do, and we'll start immediately. We won't wait. We will start immediately. Can we get these players or can't we get these players? Yes, we can. No, we can't. Eric, I can't get you De Jong. I'm using him as an example. Where else do you want to go? We can't get you Frankie. Who else is there? This should have been done by June. It really should have been done by June. You get all your ducks in a row and everything ready. And you're talking to these clubs and you're talking to the players. You're sounding out the agents. You're sounding out the players. Do you want to come? Yes. What kind of salary are you going to be wanting? What do you think the selling club's going to want as an asking price for you? It's information you can get from the agent, because the agent will know. The agent will know straight away whether the player's interested. The agent negotiates a salary, and he'll know by negotiation contracts with the selling club or the parent club if the parent club are willing to sell or not. They'll know all of this. It's just do your due diligence. We don't do our due diligence. We get a map and say, Rabiot today. Oh, let's go and negotiate with his mom, Veronique, who everyone knows is an absolute fucking pain in the arse. It's like Mario Icardi. You don't go anywhere near Icardi because of his misses. There are certain things you don't do in football. And we don't seem to get this. We don't get it. Arnautovic, I don't want to go down his past indiscretions, but, Ten Hag, if he's really interested and he wants a left-sided player, go and grab Ziyech out of Chelsea.
Yeah.
He's not fancied there.
Well, the reports are today that Ten Hag has signalled out Ziyech. I don't know if anyone's seen that, but the board said no, they don't think that deal is going to be possible and not one that they want to do.
You'd get him for less than 10 million as well. So
you would. Ziyech should be ideal. I don't know much about this Gaspo. I didn't know much about that Sesko. We were in for him. I didn't know too much about him. The forwards United should have been going for the likes of Vlahovic, who went from Fiorentina to Juventus. He's the type of player you want. If you can't get De Jong in, you should be knocking on Inter Milan's door when Manchester United, remember, and trying to get Brozovic out of there.
Well, can I just quickly hit on that as well, Stu? Just on forwards, like on that. I had a chat with Graham Bailey about this, and another one who's got a £50 million buyout clause in his contract is a guy over in Spain who's been highly rated. In Brazil, highly rated for ages. Gabigol. He scored something like 40 odd goals in the last 60 games in Brazilian football. Right. Okay. He's worth a bloody punt. He's a great player. He fits the Ten Hag profile as well. And we were talking about that on the show. Another player who completely fits the Ten Hag profile that you've mentioned before, Tammy Abraham, has a £66 million buyout clause in his Roma contract. Now, all Roma have to do is turn around and go, Man United have matched that. Chelsea, do you want him? And then Chelsea have to make the decision whether they do want to take him back or not. And then he's a United player who goes to Chelsea. Like, United could still be doing deals right now. Instead, we're talking about an Arnautovic and Icardi.
I know.
What is going on?
It is absolutely ridiculous. I mentioned, as you well know, 18 months ago on this show, or 14 months ago, about Conor Cody. We should be looking at him for stability. It's a great move that is for Everton, because he's stable. The problem with our fan base is they don't like unfashionable players. They don't like workhorses. They don't like good, honest professionals. And somebody like Ziyech, and Anton's right, we'd pick him up for less than 10 million. It'd be a perfect signing for us. But instead, we're holding out for De Jong. Look, I get the De Jong thing. I do. I think he's a really good footballer, but I would have moved on from him. I really would have moved on from him. You can't have a Sancho-type target. And I'll tell you something for nothing, Ben. If he goes to Chelsea or Frankie de Jong, the whole fan base is going to completely melt down. Melt down.
That's going to be a bigger spectacle than anything else, isn't it?
It is. Watching on the sidelines,
Let me come over to you. So Ten Hag has said in his press conference that him and the Manchester United board are on the same page. What's your reaction to that?
I mean, it's tough with Erik Ten Hag because, I mean, this guy has been in the job for what, a month, maybe a couple of months, and you have your CEO, at a pub, basically telling the world that money isn't an issue at Manchester United. So naturally, that means every club you now negotiate with is going to want the highest possible valuation for a player, which then has a domino effect on your ability to sign players. And then on top of all of that, he's got to deal with this squad that we all know has mentality issues and toxicity and all that stuff. So, what can you do? You can't come out and say Glazer's out. So it's difficult. And I think with Erik Ten Hag at the moment, we should hold our judgment for what he does on match day when he selects the team and how he goes about things during the 90 minutes, and not so much what he says, especially when it comes to the Glazers. I think sometimes we take it for granted that whether it's managers or players, they do pay attention to social media, and he will know what's going on with the Glazers out movement. He will know what's going on with, with the supposed consortium hostile takeover by Michael Naughton. You'll know about all of this stuff. Yeah. And he as a manager needs to pick his battles. He as a manager needs to say, you know what? I'm in a difficult situation. My priority here is to get results for Manchester United and not worry about this off the field stuff. So I think Erik Ten Hag is just he there must be a level of frustration deep down inside, but he can't show that. And I respect him for not showing that. I respect him for being an honest professional, because it would be very easy for him to come out and just throw his toys out of the pram and just go completely rogue,
Yeah.
So I think people should just calm down with the Ten Hag comments. Again, seen loads of people on Twitter with the puppet accusations. Come on, people. Engage your brain, please, man. Engage your brain. What does Erik Ten Hag coming out and saying Glazers out achieve? It achieves nothing. All it does is make him a cult hero in the fan base. And that's not what we need. We don't need a cult hero right now. We need an honest professional who's going to get the best out of that squad that we all think is not good enough. We need somebody who's going to turn things around. And we need somebody who's going to stay here for the long term, regardless of who's in charge of the club. And yeah, man, so people just need to relax, give Ten Hag a bit of breathing room and show some understanding.
Well, also Anton hit on earlier about how Ten Hag is more controlling the media now. And if he came out and started taking the Rangnick approach, it would give the media more stuff to talk about the disconnect with the club. That's more negativity in the press, and it just doesn't help anyone, does it? So I'm completely with you on what you're saying there, Marcus, 100%. There's loads of stuff coming in about Arnautovic, and Richard Arnold makes Ed Woodward look like the chairman of the century.
Actually, Ben, just quickly on Arnautovic, somebody did make a really good point a few years ago. The player himself was okay. He got something about him, didn't he? So a few years ago, he would have been a great backup number 9. But now, what is the point of having a 33-year-old or 34-year-old as a backup to a 38-year-old?
Well, this is what Bertus is saying. Quality-wise, Arnautovic.
I'm sorry, I didn't realise that. Yeah.
Check his last season, Bologna goals and assists. Rabiot would be an as good a signing as Malacia, Eriksson, and Martinez already are. You know what? I'm all for United. I'm all for us all taking a bit of a step back right now and going, where are United currently at? Now, let's be honest with us. And we've been saying this since the start of the transfer window, whether we get De Jong or not. De Jong would have been the most opportunistic signing Manchester United potentially have ever made. A club that finishes 6th in the league should not be signing a player of Frankie De Jong's caliber or doing a deal that big in a transfer window that is now. So De Jong was always going to be a very opportunistic signing. The issue with United is, and not getting that De Jong deal done, is we've all got our hopes up on it, and we're now going to have to go down a couple of levels of quality on whoever those next few players are going to be instead of De Jong. And that's what Rabiot is. But Rabiot is a top 6 player. He really is.
Rabiot's decent. Rabiot is okay. Bearing in mind, Ben, Rabiot was a constant for Juventus. And he was a constant, by the way, playing alongside Verratti for PSG. The guy can play football.
I was also going to say that his issue at Juventus has also been he's been pushed out onto the left-hand side because they never replaced Ronaldo Juventus, and Rabiot needed to be shifted about. But that goes to show how versatile and as good a player as Rabiot is. He can do a job for us. 100% he can do a job for us. And you know, one thing that I also do like about Rabiot is he comes with, which isn't consistent for some number 6s or box-to-box midfielders in Europe. They tend to be quite small and slight and move about a lot on the ball. And he's quite big, which means that he should be able to cope with the physicality of the league. Anyway, Anton, I'm taking up your time here, mate.
Sorry Anton.
Let me come over to you, Anton, about this. The one thing that Ten Hag did say, and I haven't mentioned this yet, is he was asked about will United make more signings ahead of the window? Will they strengthen? He says, we have to. So for you, Anton, how many more do we need? Who do we need? What are your thoughts? It's that big question, isn't it?
How much time do we have? Because
Plenty.
obviously he's not going to say no. He's obviously not going to slate the owners as well, by the way. That wouldn't be sensible, and that's just common sense prevailing. But if we could get all the signings we needed, we'd probably need about 5 or 6 more still. Realistically, we're probably going to get 1, maybe 2. This Frankie de Jong situation should really have been resolved by now, but I think it will be done in a few days because obviously Barcelona have their I don't know when the deadline is.
Sorry, Anton. Is it tonight? Isn't it tonight?
I thought it was the 11th, but obviously the 11th's gone. So that must have been the wrong information there. But we will know before the end of the window whether Frankie de Jong is staying or leaving Barcelona because they have to register or let players go. Like, for example, Kessie and Christensen have been told they might have to leave because they can't be registered. Kessie might be a player we could go in for because I think, you'd get him on a free, first of all. Obviously, the wages would be quite high because it's a free transfer, but he's a player that definitely fits the profile of someone that can play under Ten Hag, good on the ball, composed. He can play in the deep line position. He can also play further going forward.
Sorry, Anton, quickly. Was it last season we played against AC Milan and he was absolutely terrific, especially at Old Trafford?
It was the season before in the Europa League.
Season before,
yeah. But I've been a fan of him since he was at Atalanta. I don't think he was good enough to come when he was at Atalanta, but at AC Milan, he's one of the better players in his position. And I can't remember which one of you said it, but the step down going from De Jong to Rabiot is big. But that's what happens when you are linked and playing, hide and seek with De Jong for the whole summer. Obviously, Rabiot can do a job. Honestly, at this point, in my opinion, anything to get McTominay out of the starting lineup. I'm sick and tired of it. Every week I think about what goes on in training. What does he do? What does he say to warrant a starting place? Because I can see it, you can see it, everybody else can see it. What he does on the pitch, and for whatever reason, the manager just can't see it, or there's a specific reason why he has to play. I've always said I'm a conspiracy theorist by nature. Manchester United have had a record of playing youth players in consecutive games. I don't know if that record is still there, but if it is, I genuinely believe that's the reason Scott McTominay plays so much. But with Ten Hag wanting more signings, Gakpo, we can't do anything with PSV until the 24th of August because they want him there at least until they try and qualify for the Champions League proper. So that's someone I think we'll get in. So that's one. Frankie de Jong or a central midfielder, that's another one too. We still need a right winger. However, I do think that Garnacho could be an interesting choice. Put Jadon Sancho back on the left and have Garnacho on the left because he looks like a superstar. We're still in the market for a right back because obviously Ethan Laird is leaving and Wan-Bissaka is almost getting forced out of the door at this point. So that's 3. Those are 3 signings that I think we could do, but we realistically need about 5 or 6, which obviously won't get done before the window, which just goes onto the January. I think we definitely will be making signings in January as well. So it's going to be very, very tight. There's going to be deadline day action. I'm not a fan of deadline day action because it reeks of panic, and we just need to appease the fans. But I do think we'll be active on the last day.
Well, we have just left it that long now, haven't we? So it's an absolute nightmare. But there we go. So just to recap, we've spoken about Marcus Rashford. Ten Hag said that he will be staying. He is important to his plans for this season and he doesn't want to lose him. We've also then spoken about that Ten Hag made a comment between him and the board and how they're getting on this transfer window. He said there's cooperation and we have to strengthen before the window ends. Then there was some chat around United's opening game of the season, which is quite interesting, about what Ten Hag learned from his first outing in the Premier League. He said, we learned a lot, but it's normal when you start a season. Every season in that part is the same. The team get together. You have to get a way of playing, especially when you are new, what we are. You have to make a new start and you will make mistakes. Football is a game of mistakes, so we know we have to improve in many factors. That is clear. Stu, is one of the factors that we need to improve on dropping McTominay and Fred for the game against Brentford on Saturday?
It's the only thing to do. Look, I'm 52 now and I can do a better job than McTominay. Absolutely. I said, and I was not particularly shot down on it. People started to think about it more logically. I said the first game of the season we should have gone with Varane and Maguire and put Martinez in, because it wouldn't have mattered one little bit as at centre DM, because Anna would have played Fred and Eriksen or Van der Beek and Eriksen, and then that would have given you Bruno at a bit more license up front, and then the Rashford and Sancho didn't start, did he? He was ill.
He did. No, he didn't. No, he did.
I can't remember.
Sancho did start. Sancho.
But what I was looking for was a bit of fluidity. That was a much more fluid side, and that side would have actually, believe it or not, beaten Brighton. And the reason I said about Martinez in there, it's got nothing to do with hype, by the way, blah, 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 blah. I don't want to hear that anymore. It's to do with his anticipation of where the ball's going to be at any one time. And the fact that he can actually control the play. He's got a good range of passing, short and long, and he would have been far, far better suited alongside Eriksen. And I think Van der Beek over Fred, but say Fred, for example, because Fred is a decent box-to-box when he gets going, and would have allowed us to progress the ball a lot better. We didn't play so much inverted, Ben. I think you brought that out. So there were major issues with us. But what Brighton did was exploit every time we lost the ball and every time we were out of position, which is not unusual for the likes of Dallo and not unusual for the likes of Shaw. They were just at us and they knew what to do. When you look at what they were doing, because I thought Welbeck, by the way, led the line brilliantly for Brighton. He was a real throwback of an old-fashioned number 9. Big, strong, running between, gave everyone a nightmare. But you still got the likes of Gross running off him. You got Lallana running off him. You got Trossard running off him. We didn't have any of that going forward. They didn't really control us, but when they got the ball, they were absolutely ruthless and they were devastating with it. And people won't want to hear that, and they won't get it and they won't like it. But they were absolutely brilliant with us. Sanchez in the first half, maybe Eriksen kind of was slightly off balance when he got in on his left foot, but he had one, maybe two shots. Once we started to control the ball a little bit better, Brighton were well drilled. Brighton knew what we were going to do, and they allowed us to sit back. Me and Abdul were talking about possession concession. There are occasions in a match where you must allow the opposition to have the ball because they will do something with it. Providing you get that turnover, that gives you the space in behind. And we didn't even do that. So there was big issues for us. Ten Hag was brilliant. What I liked about him, he said, I've looked at it. I've looked at the game from start to finish. I've analysed the game and I've made changes and adjustments based on that. I don't think we'll start. I don't know whether you'll go for teams, but I don't think we'll start with McTominay and Fred tomorrow. I really don't.
I think Ronaldo will come in for one of them, which
yeah.
will pull Eriksen back, and then I think he might even go a little bit shock with maybe even. I mean, the fact he went Eriksen in the 6 says everything to me. He would not be scared to chuck Van der Beek there. I think we may see Van der Beek at 6 tomorrow. I've got a funny feeling because I think he's not 100% yet on what he's seen from Ghana. I think Ghana might need a few cut games for Ten Hag to properly see him in action and maybe give him a chance. But I think he obviously has a soft spot for Van der Beek. He played a midfield of Van der Beek, Bruno, and Eriksen. A team with them three in I think it's the second half of Atletico Madrid. So he knows they can all play together. What do you reckon, Marcus? Do you reckon that could be one of the changes that we see tomorrow? And also, just quickly reflecting on what Stu said, he did mention that he's been using training to obviously analyse and teach the players some new things against for the game coming up against Brentford that he saw were mistakes against Brighton. Are you excited to see United play tomorrow? Putting in mind what happened on Saturday, Sunday. Can we take that as a positive that we're going to see a slightly different United on Saturday?
Well, I don't know if excited is quite the right word, but I am curious to see what he does. That's for sure, because I think with Erik Ten Hag, as I said about a week ago, it's very important that he stamps his authority on this team and shows his personality with his decisions. And whilst I understand his diplomacy in press conferences, I think it's very imperative that he shows a different approach when it comes to his starting 11 and the choices he makes in game, because the sooner he shows certain players that you are not undroppable and that you are very much, going to get dropped if you play badly, the better it is. The longer he goes on starting certain players, regardless of form, the more often the more you will see a precedent set in that team that some players are above being dropped. So, yeah, I think he has to, and I think he will definitely change up the midfield tomorrow. As for who he will play, Donny van der Beek is a very interesting shout. And to be honest with you, I think that there isn't really, it can't be worse than Fred. It can be as bad as Fred, but it can't be worse than Fred. So he's got to do it. And that's the thing, like, it can't be worse. It can only be as bad. So there's no harm in trying it, even if it's just 45 minutes. On top of that, I think when it comes to the whole situation of McFred, one thing a lot of people are not talking about enough is the fact that if you go back and analyze a lot of our games, especially when we're in possession, we're not actually playing with a double pivot, at least not in the sense that we were under Ollie, right? Under Ollie, McTominay and Fred were very much next to each other when we were defending a lot of the time, and they were both sort of sharing the same responsibility. But under Erik ten Hag, it's very clear that he only wants one of them sitting, and so far it's been Fred. It's very clear that he has looked to Fred to say, hey, I don't have many options, so you are going to have to take the ball off the back four. You are going to be the one who has to take the responsibility of distributing the ball effectively. And now he has seen that that is not going to work in a competitive game against Brighton. So the only logical step after that is to play somebody who has the passing range to at least distribute the ball. Now, Donny van der Beek, whatever you think of him, he might not be great in terms of physicality and winning the ball. But again, if we are better on the ball and you'd expect us to keep majority of the possession against Brentford, that won't be too much of an issue, especially in Erik ten Hag's system. I don't think it will be. So, yeah, I'm all for Donny being tried there. It will be a very interesting experiment, man. It will be very interesting.
I just hope, and I think he probably would have. I still think our biggest issue against Brighton in that first half was our fullbacks, even more than the midfield. Don't get me wrong, I think the midfield were horrendous, but I think that the fullbacks offered us more or less nothing offensively or defensively in that first half. And you could see the difference in the second half as well, as they started to play a little bit more inside and became a bit more of an option. I do think this is interesting from Reese. Caicedo, McGinn, Neves, Neto, Basuma all would have strengthened our squad. I completely agree. Caicedo, we spoke about when he first came to light and he went to Brighton. McGinn, I have been banging that drum for so long. And many people turn around and think, oh, yeah, but he's not going to win United, blah, blah, blah. Jordan Henderson's winning leagues with Liverpool. McGinn, and I hate to say it like this, would be our Jordan Henderson. He's quality.
He played well against us. When was it? I can't remember who was the manager at the time. We've had so many. We've had so many managers. It's hard to count now or remember. But he played well against us at Old Trafford. Actually, I'm not sure if it was a cup game or a league game, but it definitely was McGinn who was one of the man of the match contenders. And I think Burnley went on to win that game. So people looking down on players like McGinn, I just don't understand it,
McGinn's great. I really, really like McGinn. Sorry. Adam goes, I think Malacia and Ronaldo come into starting 11 against Brighton. I 100% agree. I'd be taking Shaw straight out. Sorry, this Neil just absolutely just took me away with this. Stu is quicker than McTominay. I don't know if that's a compliment to Stu or a bit of a thing towards McTominay. I don't know which way to judge that. Let me come over to you, Anton, on what needs to change then. Ten Hag's spoken up about the fact that he's taught the players a lot in the week that he's had. Go on, talk to us. What changes do you expect to see against Brentford?
Malacia for sure, first of all. Even when Malacia came in, I strongly believed he'll be the first choice. Just by chance, happened to watch him a few times last season. Obviously didn't know we were going to get him, but I do like him quite a lot. He reminds me, he's a short type of player. Well, he's not short type of player. He is short. But he's very strong. He's almost built like Raheem Sterling. He's short, but he's got a very strong core. He doesn't get knocked off the ball easily. But with Malacia, I think he's better defensively than Luke Shaw. He's better on the ball in terms of his technical ability. And I think I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I'm going to assume here, I think he has better crossing stats than Luke Shaw. And that seems to be something which we want to be doing a lot of. So for all those reasons, I think he should come in. You mentioned Garner as well. I would play Garner in as the 6, put Donny van der Beek and Christian Eriksen just in front of him. I think with those three, you have incredible ball retention, completely different from what Bruno, McTominay and Fred would give you. And I think we want to control the ball and they would give us total control of that football match. I think Ronaldo will come back in. Martial was meant to play, but I think a couple of days ago it came out that he still is having problems with his hamstring, so he obviously can't play. Obviously, I put Sancho on the right, and I'd put Garnacho on the left because I'm a big fan of watching the youth football, obviously for Manchester United. And last season, he blew everybody out of the water. He was meant to play on the tour, but he was the player that was late for a couple of meetings, so he didn't. He played against Vallecano, and he was one of the best players on the pitch. I think he will be playing a lot of football this season. I think this match against Brentford might be a good opportunity to bring him in. I'm not too keen on Brentford's right back. I don't think he's the best, and I think putting Garnacho against him would be a good test for him, and I think it'd cause him a lot of problems. I wouldn't drop Maguire because he did have an all right game against Brighton. It would just be a bit unfair. You can't. I mean, he hasn't been playing the best recently, but that he did play all right, so he does deserve to start alongside Martinez, who I think showed Maguire how to be a proper centre back. I think he was very, very good. But with Fred and McTominay, I keep seeing a lot of people on social media saying don't group them. I will group them because I think they're as bad as each other. I do think McTominay is worse than Fred, but when you're playing in the six, like Marcus said, we do when we are playing, not just on the paper team sheet. When we are playing, there is 1-6. I've seen Fred pick up the ball and pass it off the pitch with confidence, and I think even if you do that once or twice over a 2-month period, I just don't think that's good enough for a professional footballer. I think McTominay hides. He's not confident on the ball, or if he is, then that's an even bigger problem because he's just not very good on the ball. I think Fred is a bit better, but 6 isn't his natural position. Box to box would be, but we have Donny van der Beek. The analogy might be all right or not that good, but Fred is like the third person on the relay for me. He's good enough, but he's not good enough to be the anchor. He gets us closer to the finish line, but we need someone that takes us to the title or takes us to the cup or whatever trophy you're going there. Fred can take you on the journey, but he's not the De Jong that will carry the baton across the line. And I think that we're trying to get back into the Champions League. So Fred is the person, yeah, cool, you're going to have him there for a season more maybe. But once we get into the Champions League and want to win the Champions League in a few years or win the Premier League in a couple of years, maybe win the Europa League this season, Fred shouldn't be playing in the final, for example, of the Europa League. I think you bring someone else in who has better quality on the ball, better understanding of the game, and isn't just a passion. He runs around a lot. He wins the ball back a bit. I was talking to my friend the other day. He said, "Oh, Fred's good because he wins the ball back." But then I said to him, "He wins the ball back, yeah, but when he gets on the ball, when he has it at his feet, he loses it again. So what's the point? You might as well just not win it back."
Yeah, he also doesn't show for it, which does my idea when you're meant to be the connector or the adapter, so to speak, between the defence and the midfield. He doesn't show for it well enough.
And that's what Garner does. And that's why I would bring, honestly, for that reason alone, I'd bring Garner in because when the back four have the ball, in the little minutes he had during pre-season, you could tell instantly the difference in quality, the difference in his brain intelligence that he has from McFred. He showed for the ball. He tripped over the ball in the box, but he tackled the player and conceded a corner. That's fine. He made a mistake. He's rusty. But McTominay and Fred, they hide all the time, and it just leads to, okay, Maguire's on the ball. He wants to pass it to the midfield and he can't. So he does that diagonal ball. Comes off a bit at a time, but I'm bored of seeing that ball all the time. But he doesn't have a choice. And I think we just need to get rid of them both, to be honest with you. I don't want to see them on Sunday. McTominay, if he starts, an investigation needs to be had because that was an awful game they had against Brighton. If Fred starts, fair enough, but I don't think he should.
It's interesting, isn't it? And I think we're going to be looking at the team sheet. I'm liking King Zassan, who's popped in and heard us talking about Maguire and then said that he's running off. Well, if you're a Manchester United fan and you don't want to hear people talking about Manchester United just because you hate Harry Maguire so much, I'd question how much of a fan you are of the club. So see you later. Adios.
Oh, can I just also say quickly, sorry, I'm absolutely buzzed to watch Man United play. I'm a very optimistic person. Even when we're in the trenches with Trenchfoot, I think I'm as excited as ever to watch United play because
do you know what
I'm just so hopeful.
I'm not gonna lie. I put a picture on Instagram the other day with like one of my on my private Instagram account where I've got like all friends and family who are absolutely loving the fact that they can rib me as a Man United fan at the moment, or have done over the recent seasons. And I just took a picture, like had a shit day today, but decided to put my Man United shirt on to remember that the first game of the season's coming up and we're going to win the league this year. Like literally, I put that up, and every single person that saw that out of my friends group actually sent me a message and went, do you know what's hilarious about this? You probably do actually think you can win the league. And I went, too freaking right. I'm not going into a new season thinking, we're going to get relegated or we're not going to win football matches. Football's simple. Win every game, you win the league. And I'm going to cheer Man United on to win every game this season. I don't give a shit. So whoever's on that football pitch. So that's call me deluded. Call me unrealistic. I watch football because I watch Manchester United because I love Manchester United and I love football. And I'm not going to sit there and go, Brentford this weekend. Oh, I don't think we're going to win that. Oh, I'm not going to bother. Oh, I'm just going to watch it so that I can complain about us. It's just no thanks.
I'm not a fan of that.
I'm not that fan. Just quickly then, one last thing. He spoke about Cristiano Ronaldo. He said that Ronaldo's had a good training week. He's made his mind up on the starting 11. However, obviously, he didn't share it. Of course, he didn't. Stu, quick yes or no, Ronaldo, does he start for you tomorrow?
Yeah.
Anton?
Yes.
Marcus?
Yes, even though Neil's going to leave the stream now, but yes.
And another final question. Will Ten Hag get his way and keep Ronaldo come the end of the transfer window? Stu?
Yes.
Anton?
Yes, he doesn't have a choice. Yeah.
Marcus?
Yes, he will. He will.
There you go. Nice, short and sweet. Just to recap the press conference, Ronaldo's fit, raring to go, been good in training. Ten Hag's made his decision on the starting lineup. We'll find that out tomorrow. Marcus Rashford is staying. He's not going anywhere, especially to PSG, and is an important part of Ten Hag's plans. He's been in training this week, analysing the Brighton defeat and putting things right. He's also said that he's learned a lot about the team together and that he's happy that they've made mistakes because in football, it's a game of mistakes and there will always be things that he and his team can rectify when it comes to playing style and the players. He said that he cannot talk about singular players when questioned about Rabiot and Jong. He's happy that him and the board are corroborating something anyway together. Some bullshit, and that we have to make new signings before the end of the window. Finally, every game's a hard game in the Premier League. He said, well done. He likes Thomas Frank. He likes Brentford's football. A bit like Brighton, they're well coached and they're raring to go. Other than that, he has turned around and said that Lindelof and Martial are not available for this weekend. Are we all up to date, guys? I think we're all up to date. That was literally the length for the press conference as well with Ten Hag's answers. So I think we've done pretty well. Anton, tell people where you're at quickly, mate. Thank you for coming on.
I'm on Twitter. My name is my Twitter app. I also present for MUFC MPB. If you know the page, they just update Manchester United fans on transfer news and news surrounding the club. I do that as much as I can. So follow me on Twitter if you haven't already.
Yeah, I've watched some of Anton's streams. He's rising, this guy, I'll tell you. And so is this other guy over here, Marcus.
Catch me on the United stand soon.
Where can people catch you, Marcus?
You can find me on Twitter. My @ is down here, M, but X instead of the I. And I'm quite active on YouTube as well. So I have a personal channel. Go subscribe to it. Some would say I spend too much time on Twitter, but yeah, where else can you find Manchester United news?
Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, like the video. Will be live after every or during every press conference this season. A preview's now on our channel for the Brentford game. Go check that out. You can also check out Stu's lovely face on the most recent tactical special. Stu, do you want to talk a bit about that?
Yeah, we, myself and Abdel, you all know, we've been doing a couple of tactical specials recently. We've just been focusing on certain areas of the team where we think it can be improved. We had a brilliant goalkeeping specialist on a few weeks ago who spoke brilliantly about De Gea's deficiencies, which we've been speaking about on this channel for a long, long time now. Our next one's likely to be after the Liverpool game. I don't know if I told you that, Ben, actually.
Thanks for letting me know.
Yeah. So we don't know. I'm going to try and get a guest on, an ex-pro, who we can talk about the midfield side of the game and the defensive side of the game. But come and check out our tactical previews, actually. And if you've got any questions you want to ask myself and Abdel, if there's things you're not sure about how the team sets up and about why the team sets up that way, Even Marcus watches our tactical previews. I think he's a fan. So So our next one's going to be after Liverpool, but Ben will put a note up on
They're
there.
not tactical previews anymore. They're tactical specials. At least someone knows what's going on.
Yeah, I keep saying preview because that's what we used to do. Now they're tactical specials. So.
Guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't leave this stream on this video without hitting a like on the video, please, and make sure you subscribe as well. As I said, back after the next press conference, I'm sure you see all these guys on North United soon and on their Twitter platforms as well, so go check them out. Thank you guys for watching. Obviously, it's a come on United. Let's get that first win of the season.
Oh, by the way, we haven't got a score prediction. I think we'll win 2-1.
Oh, go on, Marcus, quickly. See us out with a score prediction.
We have to win, so 2-1. We have to win.
Okay, well, thank God you two aren't doing a wager. There'd be no money on there. Go on, Anton.
I'm going to say 3-0 Ronaldo with a brace and Sancho to get the third.
Nice.
Love it. I'm going 9-0. Cheers, guys.